Hello everybody, welcome to the week 7 of NPA. I'm today joined by Polar Bear.
Greetings, hello.
And today we're going to have the first Regulation C week of NPA. And this is going to be a lot interesting since we have seen two tournaments. I mean, we have seen a lot of tournaments, but there were two bigger tournaments. And one was online and it was won by Fedecampo, and one was a local tournament in Milan that I had the pleasure to cast, and that was won by Banfox, and they were both won by the same core, Glimora, Tinglu, and Gyarados. So we might expect some of these mons maybe today? Gio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they're they're both really strong picks right now. Gyarados kind of getting the same treatment that Arcanine did going into Series 2. Being just a very solid Intimidate user where there's more Pokemon to intimidate and less direct counterplay for those Pokemon. Um, just the power level increasing quite significantly, and seem to be benefiting a lot from it. And Tinglu just being a Pokemon that has ridiculous BST, great stats, fantastic utility, with an OHKO move,
Yeah.
and yeah, just really hard to KO, and can be a jack of all trades, just super versatile.
Yeah, and I might have to add the Fisher counter for this streaming, but yeah, that's a thing we might work on for the next Regulation C streams.
That'd be a
And
good addition.
yeah,
I
I
approve.
hope we
I
don't have to do
approve.
that for today. But yeah, so let's introduce our first match of the week. We're going to have Red Silver against Certain Light. Certain Light is a teammate of yours, so I'm going to let you introduce him. I'm going to talk about Red Silver first. Hippolyte Bernard, a French player, really, really strong and solid during the 2019 season, but also he came back stronger in the 2022 and so after COVID. 2020 Cologne regional champion. I remember Hippolyte to be a very strong and known Shedinja player. So I mean, he has found success even without Shedinja. That's a thing we were afraid of for Shedinja players coming into Scarlet and Violet. And this year, or I should say, after COVID, he got top 16 at Worlds. So yeah, very convincing performance. And in this current season, he got top 16 in Bochum. I'm afraid this is incorrect by me. It was Liverpool, I think. So yeah, I just wrote the wrong thing in the graphics, I think. And yeah, go ahead and introduce your teammate. Talk about maybe how did you approach this week going into Regulation C?
Yeah, so going into Regulation C, we just all were somewhat relying on our past experience with new formats, and we wanted to like kind of approach some sort of comfort. Some of us had already been playing a good amount prior to this past week,
Okay.
whether it be like ladder tournaments or the actual ladder play whenever that went live on Showdown. Um, so we had all been testing something previously to an extent, and it was just more about developing that and trying to push it to where it's ready for match level, or doing that through preparation, rather than like just strictly testing,
Mhm.
and more theory. And it's a format where not a lot can go wrong directly if you build like a solid team, but if you're more leaning towards um, prepping for your specific opponent, a lot more can go wrong, in my opinion. Sure, you're going to walk into bad matchups, but I feel like you can more so walk into a matchup that's less lopsided, specifically
Mhm.
in Regulation C, than before. But that's just my opinion. I know some people will disagree with that. Um, but I think it's a lot less volatile, due to its, I would say, quote, more forgiving bulk. But I wouldn't say that it makes plays more forgiving. You still have to be on top of your game.
Okay.
And it's the same as every other format. Like the damage level is high, but the bulk is even higher. So it's a slower, grindy format, but one KOs and two KOs still happen fairly regularly.
Yeah, and one hit KOs, as you said before, uh, can happen since Tinglu has Fisher. But yeah, that's an option we could discuss an hour and talk about if it is a valid option on Tinglu, or if it has to be given up in order to play maybe Ruination. That is, in my opinion, the move you want to give up if you play Fisher. But yeah, let's see what these two players brought. Cernlight, as I didn't say his results, he got top 16 at two majors this season. Liverpool top 16 it was top 32 Cat, so he cut Liverpool. And Utrecht top 16, he lost, I think, the last Swiss round on stream. So yeah, it was top 8, got still, I think, 10 and 4 score. So yeah, pretty solid score. And yeah, let's jump into the match and see what these two players cooked for us today. So Rodham Heat, Taurus, I think, Water, yeah. Fluttermane, Klefki, Tinglu, and Amoongus by Red Silver, and Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, Arcanine, Amoongus, Guldengo, and Tinglu for Sam.
Yeah, I think that just looking at this matchup off rip without too much like analyzing,
yeah,
Red Silver's Tinglu feels like it is going to stay there for a while. You have screens, and I don't know the Terra type, right? That's not information that's afforded to any of us.
Yeah.
But the Tinglu could be Terra Grass, Terra Poison, and those, or even Terra Water, as we've seen on some Tinglu, for key resistances and good defensive typing. That any of those play a good factor here, and if it is Fissure behind the screens, it's going to get some free turns to use that. The Fluttermane being booster energy, leaning towards it being bulky as well, with the screens buying to that idea, makes it very good, possibly having substitute to prevent Amoongus counterplay. Amoongus on Red Silver side also looks very good if the Arcanine is not safety goggles, so maybe we can assume that as well. Gives a lot of extra turns for setup from Rotom with Nasty Plots, or Fluttermane to spread damage with Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, as we see a lot with the booster energy sets, where it often has substitute over Moonblast. And Sam having a generally balanced build. Nothing too insane here. We've seen these 5 with Series 2, with Iron Hands over the Tinglu slots. Nothing too innovative, I would say.
Yeah, as we see the leads, it's going to be Rodham Heat and Fluttermane for Red Silver, and Arcanine and Iron Bundle for Sudden Light. I would say that this Fluttermane is not as bulky as we expected it to be, since it has 141 HP. So we might expect a speed boost here, maybe. Okay, special attack. Yeah, that would be very, very unusual. But yeah, this lead is pretty fast for both of them, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that Red Silver brought the Tauros here. Not that it's too insane, given that there's an Arcanine team and a Golden Go, which it matches up pretty favorably into. But more so, I can have difficulty with Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, and Amoongus. But yeah, it's a really interesting pick here, and I think that it can actually have good value if it's a solid defensive Terra type.
Yeah, and Taurus joins the field right now in place of the Rodham Heat in order to intimidate the Arcanine, and Iron Bundle goes for Protect, so it's going to get in for free, I would say. I don't expect a Will-O-Wisp going into that slot, and yeah, Sam Bentham going for the double Protect here to scout what is going to happen in this turn on Red Silver's side. Moonblast going to crash on the Protect from Iron Bundle, so repositioning turn.
Yeah, really unpunishable turn there from Red Silver. You're switching a Water type into a presumed Hydro Pump, as you're able to intimidate the Arcanine to prevent your Fluttermane from getting knocked out from a Flare Blitz, presuming that this has a little bit less HP and more defense investment, given that its HP set is so low and it's still got the special attack boost, given that it might be able to actually take a Freeze Dry and a -1 Flare Blitz double up.
Yeah, Taurus coming out, going back in order to get the Rodham Heat on the field, and a Terra type here being used on the Arcanine. So we expect maybe a Terra Water, yeah, in order to resist the Raging Bull or the Wave Crash from Taurus. And let's see if he went for the double up on the Fluttermane. Icy Wind here for a bit of speed control, reducing the speed of both Fluttermane and Rodham coming on the field right now. And Arcanine went for Flare Blitz on Fluttermane. So yeah, it has like a lot of defense EVS, in my opinion, to take that little damage from Flare Blitz and Moonblast. So retaliates with a Moonblast on the Iron Bundle slot, taking the KO.
Yeah, so that actually picking up the 1 KO there on the Iron Bundle is a big deal, as obvious as that seems, because now there's lack of speed control for certain light, and one of the primary answers to Taurus at this point is now down. The Flutter Mane is a lot more manageable for this Rotom than the Iron Bundle is, barring accuracy. And now Amoonguss also is pretty freed up as well, given that it can wall pretty much this entire team thanks to Taurus's Intimidate support, and that's going to go a really long way. He's going to be able to support pretty much everything here, and now the Arcanine has lost its signature defensive capabilities and is now weak to this incoming Thunderbolt from a Rotom.
Yeah, and we see that the Rotom does not carry Nasty Plot. It has Will-O-Wisp, so it's more of a supporting set. But Amoonguss coming out on the field, replacing the Flutter Mane to take that Shadow Ball. And Will-O-Wisp here going onto the Rotom slot and probably predicting a switch out that didn't happen. So Arcanine is going to go down from this Thunderbolt, and yeah, the Terra type was used and probably favored the opposing side by Certain Light.
Yeah, definitely reading into a Tauros switch there, no doubt. Given that that's how the past 2 turns have played out, switching back and forth multiple times, trying to catch that Tauros on switch in would go a long way for this Flutter Mane, given that it might be able to actually take a Dazzling Gleam depending on how bulky it is. We saw that safety goggles, and in this format being where things are like the speed is very dichotomous in the format, where there's a lot of fast things and a lot of really slow things, so you can possibly drop a lot of speed from Pokemon who have very high natural speed stats. So Tauros on this team might be actually very bulky.
Yeah, we see Protect coming out from Amoonguss in this turn. Shadow Ball, yeah, going onto the Protect. So nice Protect by Red Silver here, scouting this Shadow Ball. Probably choice specs, I would say, from the damage we have seen on Amoonguss in the previous turn. And Nasty Plot here, maybe hoping for an Overheat miss that does not come out. So it connects, and the drop won't be enough for Certain Light probably in this game to come back.
Yeah, and we're seeing exactly why using the Terra Water there on the Arcanine and Red Silver baiting that out properly with the Tauros was so key. Losing access to that and it, working against you, making yourself weak to the Rotom here, has really allowed it to take over this game. In addition to being able to remove the Iron Bundle instantly without having to commit a Terra type for extra damage, the Iron Bundle not having enough bulk to withstand the Moonblast really going at Certain Light here, and making this a 4v1, now 3v1, pretty much impossible to come back from as long as you're using attacks to the opposing Pokemon.
Yeah, Amoonguss coming back in order to take that bit of Regenerator. And yeah, it's going to go back on the field probably to Spore and assure a safe endgame for Red Silver. I'm curious to see how these 2 players will adjust for a game 2. If we will see maybe an additional adjustment by Red Silver, or if only Certain Light is going to try to bring something different to win the game 2. And we see a forfeit on Certain Light's side of the field. So 1-0 for Red Silver, as the game was suggesting. What do you think they're going to bring to make the difference in this game 2? Gio?
It's a little tough to say, given how game 1 played out. I think it was more so an error of just a few slight mistakes, or I would say key mistakes that were rather major in this set, or in game 1 at least. I would like to look to Tinglu as an option, just because Ruination can do a lot. Of course, Red Silver's not bringing the screen variant, so that makes it a little less valuable, but it's still a real option here. Assuming that its Terra type is decent defensively into this team, even if it's not, as long as you're not taking Terra Fairy Moonblast, I think with Boost Energy Special Attack, I think you're fine to bring it.
Yep.
That can set up well for Sam's Iron Bundle and Flutter Mane to pick up knockouts on Pokemon. I don't think that there's a reason for Red Silver to change anything, given how game 1 went. Just really solid safe switches, and was really able to punish the Iron Bundle staying in there, and got a lot of information for free that the Moonblast is a solid 1-hit KO. That's pretty big going forward because now um, he's a pretty good indication of what the spread is on that Iron Bundle and can maybe uh, infer a few other things on the team based on that. And the Taurus actually matches up really well here with the safety goggles. Gets a lot of value and deters a lot of certain lights plans and makes like the Among Us bring kind of just an afterthought.
Yeah, we saw the same four brought out by Red Silver in this game too, and let's see what Certain Light did. And yeah, he adjusted its lead for sure, and we don't have the Iron Bundle probably in the back to handle those Among Us and Taurus in the late game. He wants to approach this early game in a very different way. And as for the Culk that we saw on the opposing Iron Bundle, this Flutter main being so little invested in HP, it might be maybe something like 196 special attack. We might expect a very offensive kind of Flutter main.
Yeah, this lead from Certain Light is significantly better than Game 1's. Or not to say that his lead was bad in Game 1, but Red Silver was able to make just good defensive switches to get out of it pretty easily. And now those can't really be made. You could see a potential double up into the Ronin here predicting a switch, or a double up into the Flutter main here, trying to trade damage on each Flutter main and get the knockout, and then just liquidate the position to a 3v3. That's something that could very easily happen here, but we'll see if Certain Light depends on if he wants to make that play or not, and how risky he's feeling.
Yeah, we saw a switch out in this turn on Red Silver's side, and I do not know what is happening with the audio, so I'm going to lower it a little bit. The Rotom switched out for the Among Us, and Flutter main went for Protect. The Terra-type Fairy on the opposing Flutter main is going to try to deal some bit of damage to this Among Us. So a nice switch in here, if it's not going to take a Flare Blitz, and that's a lot of damage. Okay, that's a critical hit by the Flutter main, and Flare Blitz is going to go onto the Protect by Flutter main. So nice switch in here by Red Silver, bringing the Among Us and predicting the slot that was taken to Flare Blitz.
Yeah, solid safe play from both players. Terra Fairy there, meaning that you're not going to get one KO'd by the opposing Flutter main. Barring Terra Fairy, Moonblast, and a crit, I believe, would get there. I don't think it would be enough otherwise. Flare Blitz there just covers for if the Flutter main does choose to attack, so that it doesn't go unpunished. Even though I believe Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam would have been a 2 KO anyway, so damage on the Rotom could have been pretty significant to help for a subsequent Dazzling Gleam. But still good to cover that option, and removing the Flutter main early would have helped for more defensive switches on Certain Light side for sure.
Yeah, and we see here Red Silver going for Protect, wanting to preserve this Among Us that is threatened by the Flare Blitz in this next turn, and going for a Terra-type on his own Flutter main, so mirror of Terra Fairy Flutter mains, trying to deal a lot of damage to the opposing side of the field. I don't know if Moonblast is going to pick up the KO, I don't think so, but let's see. So Among Us is going to Protect, and the opposing Flutter main is faster. Dazzling Gleam going to deal probably a bit over 50%, as you said before. Let's see if that's the case. Yeah, that is absolutely. And Moonblast coming out from Flutter main on Red Silver's side. Let's see if that's enough. That is not. It's around 80% of damage, and Flare Blitz, yeah, doubling up into the Among Us slot that went for Protect on this turn. But I don't know what Red Silver can do to prevent this to happen in the next turn as well.
Yeah, he's kind of struggling for answers here. There's not a lot that Red Silver can do defensively, as the damage output in 2 turns will add up really quickly, and the Pokemon on the field currently are being both threatened by KOs respectively with Flare Blitz and Dazzling Gleam, with Terra Fairy that is, and the Tauros just can't switch in, otherwise it's going to be 1 KO'd, and the Rotom, if it switches in and takes a Flare Blitz after taking the Dazzling Gleam, will surely be put in range of another double up, even after the switches vary, so that's something that Red Silver really has to manage well here.
Yeah, Protect from the Flutter main on Red Silver's side, so it's going to probably just let this Among Us die. I don't think it carries the citrus berry. Yeah, it is on the Rotom, but the prediction here of Certain Light, I'm sorry, for I don't know which slot he expected to come in on Among Us. So here the Among Us stays on the field and can put that Flower Main to sleep. So huge turn here by Red Silver.
Yeah, I think that was just an oversight from Certain Light. I think that Red Silver was really much pinned there. Maybe you assume that there was a Tinglu that was there, just
Yeah.
wasn't. Even if the Tauros switched in there and he was trying to Will-O-Wisp, the Dazzling Gleam would have knocked it out anyway. Um, I assume that Red Silver was just trying to sacrifice the Amoonguss to play towards the Tauros Aqua Jet into the Flutter Mane, freeing up his own Flutter Mane to do damage and also intimidating the Arcanine in the process. But is able to get a free Spore, uh, a really unpunished Spore that I think Certain Light really didn't need to give up. But I
Yeah.
mean, Red Silver gets rewarded for making a good play, looking into the future of this game, and um, is now in a really good spot, I would say.
Yeah, and Red Silver using that Among Us ability to get 30% of its HP back. And Taurus coming in, and Red Silver decides not to get the KO on the Flower Main. He probably wants to keep it on the field, yeah, wasting a turn and then KOing it with an Aqua Jet. Yeah, that's probably the best choice for Red Silver in this scenario. And Certain Light knows what is going to happen and gets that Flower Main back and sends sends out the Iron Bundle, I'm sorry, and activates that booster energy, which is going to make it faster than everything on the field, but it was already faster than anything. So, extreme speed here, bringing Flower Main down to 31 HP. Aqua Jet not going to deal any damage to Iron Bundle, and the Shuttable is going to end that Arcanine's life for this game. And yeah, really, really good turn of repositioning by Red Silver, wasting that first turn sleep.
Yeah, really, really good play from Red Silver to just leave the Flutter Mane there. On that previous turn, Certain Light could have Flare Blitzed the Flutter Mane, given that the Amoonguss was needing to switch out to something else, regardless of what it was. And picking up the KO on the opposing Flutter Mane would help significantly with this Iron Bundle, because now Iron Bundle would have been freed up completely. Um, but now that's not the case at all. And you still have to deal with this Flutter Mane. The Tauros can, close combat the Iron Bundle to cover. If it's predicting the Flutter Mane, just baiting to, switch out this turn into whatever the fourth Pokemon is. And Red Silver has turned a terrible situation into a very salvageable game. And
Yeah,
that lead just being like very out of control now is a very winnable game.
yeah, here the Aqua Jet taking down Flower Main, still sleeping, and Red Silver probably went for Dazzling Gleam to cover any switch out on that slot, as you said. And Freeze Dry is going to... Ooh, no, it's not going to pick the KO, but it's going to pick the Freeze. Let's see if this is going to matter. I don't think so, since the Dazzling Gleam with the Char type is going to be enough to pick up the KO single target on the Iron Bundle. And yeah, we are down to another 4v1 for Red Silver. Pretty dominant, I would say, in both matches. And we see an adjustment made by Certain Light, but bringing it on the field in the late game is not going to work, since I don't think it will be able to close 1v4 unless it carries Earthquake, but I don't think that's the case.
I think Tinglu was absolutely the correct adjustment over Golden Go, just wasn't able to pick up the knockouts to set up the end game for it. Everything on Red Silver's side is pretty significantly damaged. It has a good amount of damage on it, enough definitely for Tinglu to pick up KOs. Even though it would be able to knock out this Flutter Mane on its own independently. Getting the Tauros low was key, and the Tauros being bulky enough to take the freeze dry there is very much an issue, as now it's able to thaw out whenever and get a close combat off, easily securing the game.
Yeah.
Even though the Rotom here is just going to go untouched and the Amoonguss can put it to sleep, there's just really no out here for Certain Light. If more Pokemon, if the Amoonguss was more heavily damaged, then I could see if it was like an Earthquake set, then that would potentially be a way to get back into this. And then you can Ruination Pokemon like the Rotom. but this game is pretty much just over from here.
Yeah,
Red
and
Silver really just finding the correct plays to get into a to win in the second game.
yeah, the Taurus getting rid of the freeze is just going to help Red Silver close out this game faster. Yeah, since he was going for more control options to close the game in the safest way possible. But yeah, here with Taurus not being frozen anymore, I think we are going to see a forfeit. Yeah, that's what we're going to see. And yeah, pretty dominant performance by Red Silver in this first match of the stream. And unfortunately, we didn't see the Klefki in action in this format, since we have seen Alberto Lara getting pretty convincing results with it in the Series 2, in the OCIC, and in the North American regionals. But yeah, I wonder if with these Tinglu and Wochen screens are going to be strong again, or if they're going to be less used.
I think screens will be a good option going forward. Of course, um, there is the threat of the overwhelming offense in the format with Flutterman and Chiu, and also opposing Tinglu with Fissure being a stall breaker. I think that um, a lot of aspects of this format so far lean towards 2017. As early 2017, there is a huge stall core meta that evolved from Arcanine, Gastron, Silicila, and especially given that it won the international in Europe from Miguel Martí de la Torre, Sakiam, right?
Yeah.
In 2016. And that really shaped the metagame. We saw Parasong picking up on Politoed and Marowak, being really good anti-meta picks from there. And the format slowly found itself to a healthy medium. Oka moves were still not the most troll pick in that format either. Like they were real, like actual moves. I would say more so than almost any other format, just given how many turns and how slowly it played. Just the overall bulk of the format just outdid the damage outside of Z moves. You had Grassy Terrain as well, just a lot of defensive play, and I'm happy to see it back personally. I think it's fun when the game lasts more than 5 turns, but that's just me. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Rain player, so I like when Pokemons die to Hydro Pump clicked 4 times in a row. We have some different options here. But yeah, as you said, Guillotine on AV Kartana was a really valuable option through the years, actually. In 2017, AV Kartana wasn't as used as it was in 2019, where, yeah, Guillotine was picked. But yeah, I don't think we have seen one-hit KO moves being as relevant as they are right now. And yeah, let's see if we're going to see Fissure in the next game. And I have to inform you that we are not going to see Dim against FaZe, as there was a problem with the recording. So we are only going to see Snow against Maluka. So these two players probably don't need to be introduced, but we're going to do that. So Snow, Tomoyuki Yoshimura, top 4 at Worlds 2017, top 4 at Nats last year, and MVP, I think some seasons in a row of NPA, but in particular NPA 9, he was the MVP, undefeated in the regular season. And I think, ironically, his team in that season went pretty bad. I don't know if you know better than me how that season went.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Snow has never made playoffs before, despite having incredible performances in the seasons of NPA that he's participated in. Really established player, has been around for a while and has been playing at the highest level for the longest time now. Been around for I think about 8-9 years. I believe he's been playing, maybe 10. I know he's been around since like maybe 2015. I believe that's the earliest that I know he's been playing. But yeah, he's been around for a long time and has some of the most respectable accomplishments that you can have at, I think, undisputably the 2 toughest tournaments any season, being Japan Nationals and Worlds. The talent there is so stacked. qualification system for Japan Nationals itself is very rigorous. You have to qualify through an online tournament, then you have to qualify through a main stage ladder tournament, which then gives you the top players that move on to nationals. And then from there, you have to place top 50 there just to get a day one invite. And the top 8 getting day 2 invites, and only top 4 getting the travel award. Makes it so that everyone is gunning for those top spots. And we see time and time again that Japanese players make it through day 1 and make it to the top cut of worlds, top 4 of worlds. And that's really like no surprise given how intense their circuit is and how high level that these guys have to play at to even qualify for worlds in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you could throw a dart at a dartboard with all the names of all the Japanese players that qualified, and you would have a decent chance that the person that you hit would make it through day 1 to day 2, or the person that qualified for day 2 would make it to top cut.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see if this year we will see. We probably will see all the Japanese qualified players at Worlds, since it will be in Yokohama, and let's see if many or most of them can get to day 2 or cut, since there will be, I think, 32 day 1 invites, right? For Japan.
42, I
42.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see a lot of Japanese players this year at Worlds, but let's talk about Maluka. Maluka, Korean player who moved to Canada, I believe, to study, and this year and this season, he won the, I think, only tournament he has showed up to, being the San Diego regional champion, is the best accomplishment this player has for the current season. But in the past seasons, he had some nice online results. The main one is second place at the Players Cup 1, losing to Santino, and last season of NPA he got top 4 with Symbionts, and he is known, as is Snow, both are known for being phenomenal builders and solid players. So let's jump into the team preview and let's see what they have cooked for us today. And they have cooked some really interesting things, since we see a Gothita coming out by Maluka. I'm going to let you talk about this matchup.
Yeah, so I think that the major thing that would draw attention would be Maluka's team, his 6. Very obviously a Perish Trap oriented team, having double Shadow Tag and double Fake out there. As we see, Snow checking his Dragonite spread. Yeah,
free spread.
Having those 6 Pokemon very much leans more heavily towards the Perish Trap mode. Has a lot of damage mitigation with Arcanine and Tinglu to cover both the physical and special spectrums. Fluttermane being your premier Perish Song user other than Screamtail. And the Palafin there just being really synergistic with the constant switching of the archetype, being able to get that hero farm pretty early on. And we can assume that Snow is definitely going to look away
from
the Palafin, at least for game 1. And the Tinglu is just too slow here as well. I think that you definitely have to bring the other forward if you're Snow. You need damage, and you need it like on the turns that you are afforded to attack, and that's really important. G-Sock importantly doesn't have any redirection, which is typical for these teams, or I would say it's atypical to not have redirection, but it's typical to have an Amoonguss on the team or a Clefairy, as we've seen in the past with Mega Gengar compositions. Yeah, we're jumping right into game 1 here.
Yeah, game 1, and we see Arcanine and Fluttermane coming out on Maluka's side, and Fluttermane and Dragonite on Snow's side. Both choice items on Snow's side. Choice specs on Fluttermane and choice band on Dragonite. And that Fluttermane is going to activate the booster energy. I'm going to try and read something. I have no idea. Okay, I was trying to read from the Polchua's tweet. He tweeted how to recognize the boosts, but I have no idea, so I'm sorry. We are going to have the game in Japanese, but I don't think it's a problem for this specific match. So, what do you think about these leads?
I don't think that Snow typically like just looking at the team, I don't think Snow has a safe lead at all. I do think that the Dragonite here has to pull a lot of weight.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that the fourth wave on that Dragonite is Facade.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's Facade. Yeah.
interesting to see that it is still locking into the Terra Flying here. Um, Possibly just scared of getting trapped in with the Fluttermane, and a Gothitelle on a following turn still wants to be able to hit the Fluttermane on a
Hmm.
subsequent turn, so respectable. I think that this also um, might just telegraph what Snow has in the back, given the lead. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Palafin hasn't come to this match, as if it wasn't already deterred enough.
Hmm. And we see both players going for the Terra type. Terra normal on the Arcanine, as we normally see on the Dragonite, but this Dragonite is Terra Flying, and Fluttermane on Maluka's side is going for Protect. We have seen Dragonite using his Terra type before Arcanine on the opposing side, so if Snow here went for a double up, and that's the case, we have seen Dazzling Gleam being the move of choice by that choice packs, Fluttermane and Terra Blast by Dragonite, picking up this clean one hit, I mean, not one hit, but 2-hit KO on turn 1 on this Arcanine, and Fluttermane didn't respond with any damage.
Yeah, it's a really clean turn one for Snow. Pretty much goes unpunished completely. Fluttermane there choosing to protect, trying to take the Dragonite's attack into that slot,
Hmm.
and Arcanine trying to be able to respond with a Flare Blitz or a Will-O-Wisp. Uh, Terra Normal there for sure expecting a Shadow Ball to go into that slot, but Snow covering the option, going for Dazzling Gleam, as the Dragonite is able to follow up with a Terra Blast.
Yeah, Gothitelle coming on the field and going for Fake Out into what I believe to be an Inner Focus Dragonite, so probably wanting just to break through the... No, if it is Inner Focus, it doesn't have Multi-Scale, so my bad. And another KO on turn 2 by Snow, so Snow's choice items are paying off right now for these big chunks of damage, and 2 KOs in the first 2 turns, and Palafin coming out on the field as Maluka has only 2 Pokemons remaining, so no Zero to Hero in this game.
Yeah, G-Shock just lacking the ability to switch in on this Dragonite is just really hurting him. Um, the Fluttermane there attacking turn 1 was probably the best resolution to that, being able to respond to the Dragonite, just allowing it to get 2 big attacks off. There's really no big damage for a flying type. If you look at Malika 6, there's
Yeah,
not a lot there for that.
yeah, you're
So I'd
right.
expect the Palafin to be used more aggressively in game 2. Probably leading Arcanine Palafin and then trying to get a Will-O-Wisp and immediately switch out um, to hopefully find better positions to do actual damage and, you know, make the position at least winnable. I feel like Gothitelle and Gothorita here both suffer a significant amount in this matchup, given how Game 1 played out. I mean, you have to deal with Choice Band, Dragonite, Choice Specs, Fluttermane, and uh, Snow is still going to be bringing Arcanine there, which actually does a decent amount in this matchup. Um, it's good defensively as well with Terra Grass into the Palafin,
Yeah,
but I
and
think G-Suck has to go with that.
I mean, we have seen that the Arcanine on Maluka's side is slower than this Dragonite, so it will be interesting to see how Maluka is going to deal with this damage on Snow's side, since the burn cannot come out if Snow is going to do the same play as game 1, doubling up into the Arcanine. Maybe a protect from that Arcanine could allow Maluka to go for an offensive play on Fluttermane by his side. But let's see, since here Snow is opting for the same 4 Pokemons, and let's see if Maluka is going to opt for some adjustments, or if he's just going to play the same 4 with an adjustment in the game plan.
Yeah, I don't think Snow has any reason to change anything
Yeah.
up given how game 1 went. Very clean win in 2.5 turns, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
As we
And
see, Maluka
Tinglu.
actually adjust with Palafin Tinglu on lead.
Yeah, so Palafin was in the back in the previous game, and Tinglu here, totally different choice from what was the fourth Pokemon, probably, since it is in place of Arcanine, Gothitelle, or Flower Mane. So really, really bulky adjustment.
Yeah, Maluka with a significantly better lead this time, now threatening Heavy Slam into the Flutter Mane. I presumed one at KO, depending on how bulky this Flutter Mane is.
Mhm.
Uh, that's a possible option. Dragonite as well is not going to be able to just outright knock out the Tinglu, unless if it's a double up where both of these Pokemon are able to do a significant amount of damage, depending on how much this Flutter Mane does. Seeing if the Terrabos will actually follow up with a KO. But we see Maluka does not switch out the Palafin here turn 1.
Yeah, it does not switch out the Palafin, and here the Terraflying for Dragonite once again in the same turn 1 as the previous game. And another Terra type by Maluka, and it is going to be the Tinglu going for Terra type Flying. Okay, that's not a thing we have seen in these tournaments that were played in the previous weeks. But yeah, Terra Flying on Tinglu, going to take this Moonblast. I mean, it took it pretty well. And the Terra Blast going to double up on that slot. And it is almost going to take that KO. So Choice Band, Dragonite is paying a lot. And Flip Turn. Okay, Flip Turn coming out on the Palafin. So yeah, it didn't switch out in order to get that Flip Turn off. And to switch out, dealing some damage to the Dragonite. Let's see what is going to be the choice for Maluka. Flower Mane, okay, is coming out. Boosting once again. I will try to read once again what is the boost. And okay, I can't read. It's just too hard for me. And Heavy Slam, it is not enough. Okay, so this Flower Mane is probably okay. Thank you, Tio. It is a speed boost on Flower Mane. We have an official translator. Thank you. And Heavy Slam was not enough to take the KO.
Yeah, Flare Mane there being bulky enough to take a neutral Heavy Slam from Tinglu. Obviously, we don't know how much Maluka wants this Tinglu to be picking up Heavy Slam knockouts, or if it's focused on being just a solid bulky Ruination Pokemon. That definitely has a lot of influence on if you're able to pick up that KO or not. As we see, it has Protect too, so no Assault Vest there.
Yeah.
Pretty standard for a Perish Trap style team. As you see a Substitute come out from the Fluttermane as well.
Yeah, you talked about Substitute in the previous match, I believe, but here we see it as... I don't think that Fluttermane has a double attack as third and fourth option. We have seen him going for Protect, Substitute, and he did click an attacking move, right, in the previous game. So we might see a Fluttermane with only one attacking move, since I expect the Perish Song to be here and Tinglu taking back some HPs with the leftovers.
Yeah, Tinglu being leftover is interesting item choice here. But definitely makes sense. Not really having to rely on a Citrus Berry. Probably wants it more on a different Pokemon on the team. And gives Tinglu still another option to be defensive here. As we see Moonblast pick the KO there on the low HP Fluttermane.
Yeah, so the boost in speed here paying off for Maluka. He knew it wasn't going to be a speed tie. And Dragonite finishing off that Tinglu with Terra Blast. But yeah, first KO, I believe, of the BO3 for Maluka. And let's see how Snow is going to approach the Palafin in the back for Maluka. The Amoonguss
Arcanine matches up decently here in combination with the Amoonguss. The Dragonite losing its Dragon typing is pretty rough for Snow here, but Amoonguss should be able to manage, especially when you go into Arcanine here, Protect, switch Amoonguss for the Dragonites, and then you have a pretty solid position where you have Madison Palafin against, Arcanine attacking Will-O-Wisp and Amoonguss that can redirect with Rage Powder or even Spoil it if it chooses to. A lot of good options. Snow actually defaults for the Dominguez instead of the Arcanine.
Yeah, and we might be seeing maybe a safety goggles Palfin, and that might be important for this match. But yeah, let's see, since the Arcanine was choice for Maluka here, and Intimidate is not going to deal any sort of effect to that Dragonite with the Inner Focus ability.
Yeah, Inner Focus is actually playing a significant role in this matchup. Multi-scale would not have done too much given that Terra Flying is its own multi-scale in a sense, being able to remove that super effective
Yeah.
Fairy typing into the Dragon typing of Dragonite. And the Terra Flying Terra Blast is putting on a lot of pressure into Malika's entire sticks.
Dragonite is leaving the field, and Arcanine is going to come out, intimidating the opposing Arcanine and Flare but that doesn't matter, since the Flare is going to set up a substitute, very important in this specific scenario, defending himself from the Spore, and Spore is coming out on the Arcanine, so Safety Goggles might be the item choice on that Palafin. It's still open and available for all of the Maluka's Pokemons, but yeah, Arcanine here coming out and tanking that Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah, Maluka's Arcanine trying to go for Willows there into the Dragonite, and the opposing Arcanine switching in there from Snow, being a really good defensive play, as Maluka now wants to switch out Arcanine into Palafin, getting that Hero Form in, and looking to finally get some damage down on this Arcanine, as he's been struggling to get an answer for it.
Yeah, so switch and protect for Maluka in this turn, and if Snow predicted this switch, it might have gone... no, okay, that's not the case. It didn't go for a Will-O-Wisp in that Arcanine slot. Instead, Flare is going to protect himself, and Spore is going on the Palafin. So we don't have a safety goggles, so we might expect a Mystic Water. And the Flare behind the substitute is really in a safe position, but not if you consider that both of his teammates are asleep.
Yeah, so whether it was either Snow making the read there that Arcanine was switching out on the Arcanine safety goggles, or if the Spore was just a safe play, Maluka here now forced to switch in the Arcanine on an incoming Flare with Spore double up to break the substitute and then put it to sleep afterwards. Arcanine already being asleep, of course, makes this a very safe defensive play, and Palafin's not really going to take much damage here at all. So just a really good conservative play from Maluka, understanding that there's really not much damage that can come out given this play, and allowing the Palafin to start taking sleep turns so that he can start threatening the Arcanine and the Dragonite.
Yeah, so this turn put Maluka in a huge position, since Palafin can waste his first turn of sleep, and Arcanine right now will be able to waste the first turn of sleep. So Palafin here has the chance to wake up, and Dragonite is not going to switch in very well on Wave Crash, if that's the move. Yeah, and no, okay, that's not Wave Crash, that's Jet Punch. But yeah, still, no, that's not Jet Punch. I have no idea what the animations of this game are. So flip turn, really good switching of the Flare here. If it didn't take a Spore, and I'm not sure of it, we might see a Self-Pollen Puff here. Arcanine wastes his first turn of sleep, and Self-Pollen Puff is the choice of the Among Us on Snow's side. So the Dragonite is going back almost to full health.
Yeah, really clever plays from both sides there. Maluka trying to put the Dragonite in range of the Fluttermane when it comes in, so that it's able to pick up the KO with the Moonblast. But the Amogus there using Pollen Puff on the teammate Dragonite allows for Dragonite to have a really safe position here, regardless. And now you can just go for Rage Powder Terra Blast. You can switch Arcanine Terra Blast. You have really safe plays here, and especially given that Dragonite was faster than Arcanine in Game 1, this is really commanding for Snow now.
Yeah, Flare setting up a substitute once again in this game, and he probably wants to bait a Terra Blast in that slot, and that is not what is going to happen. Since Dragonite, ooh, I thought it would have picked up the KO on Arcanine, but that's not the case. So Arcanine munches the Aguav Berry, I would say. That's not a Citrus Berry recovery. And Arcanine is going to wake up, so one turn wake up for both Palafin and Arcanine, I believe, and this Will-O-Wisp is going to matter a lot since Palafin is now able to take some Terra Blasts before fainting. And Pollen Puff restoring this 10 HP on Dragonite, but the burn is going to take those 10 HP down once again.
Yeah, the Arcanine taking a lot of damage there on the previous turn, probably putting it in range of another Terra Blast this turn, despite it being burnt. Gives Snow a decent lead here to work with. Maluka now at this point has been playing towards a Palafin endgame, just trying to figure out how Palafin can clear the rest of this game for a win. But Snow not really giving ground, keeping the Amoonguss healthy. Maluka not able to find a Flare Blitz there into the Amoonguss. Really tough position for Maluka. Just struggling to get damage down on to these Pokemon and clear the way for Palafin to pick up some KOs.
Yeah, Dragonite switching out here is a very... I don't know, I'm not sure if I agree with this play, but Arcanine switching out as well on Maluka's side, so Palafin is going to come in. And if Spore was the choice for that Amoonguss, we're going to see a pretty bad turn for Maluka, I believe. But Moonblast here going to hit that Arcanine in the switch-in, and yeah, Spore on the Palafin has been the choice for Snow.
Yeah, really safe play from Snow there. Switching out the Dragonite, keeping it healthy so that it's able to take care of the Palafin and the Arcanine later. Given that it was a Moonblast being the strongest option there into the Dragonites, and spoiling the Arcanine that had already been put to sleep earlier, covering the Palafin switch as what Maluka just did.
Yeah, Arcanine coming back once again, and Dragonite is going to join the field. Here, Flowermane going for Protect, probably afraid of Flare Blitz plus Spore on that slot. So here, Snow put on the field the Dragonite. Once again, that is going to be threatened by the Moonblast. And Palafin wasting a turn of sleep. But here, the Dragonite is going to be at 157 HP once again, thanks to the Pollen Puff.
Yeah, Dragonite getting back in here, but this time the Fluttermane has the substitute up again. Makes this actually possible for Maluka, given that he's been able to burn Palafin sleep turns now twice, at least the first guaranteed turn, on a more null turn. Gives Palafin an actual chance to go for wave crashes and get real damage on the board. We'll see if this Fluttermane has a good amount of damage to offer as well, as we see Parasong actually coming out from it.
Yeah, so that Fluttermane does not carry Shadow Ball or Dazzling Gleam since it has Protect, Substitute, Moonblast, and Parasong. So yeah, Facade was the option by this Dragonite, so the burn was not effective, or I would say it was effective for Snow though, and Palafin does not wake up in this turn, so that is going to be interesting to see as an endgame.
Yeah, and so Snow here now has to figure out a way to either just knock out these Pokemon outright. Given that the Palafin doesn't wake up, it should be pretty easy, but if it does, then this position gets a little bit more complicated. Snow, obviously, in a more commanding position given his Pokemon HP, all being towards max, these three remaining Pokemon, and G-Sucks being much lower, but Dragonite being locked into Facade here means that Fluttermane is immune to it.
Yep.
So it's now really just up to the partner and if it can take the hits, and now Palafin stays asleep.
Yeah, Palafin stays asleep, so Facade is going to pick up the KO on Maluka's side. For Snow on Maluka's side. And Moonblast is going to be redirected onto this Amoonguss. Facade going to finish off the work started in the previous turn. So I now got why Dragonite got back on the field to lock on Facade and starting to deal this high damage. But here, I think at some point it has to switch to touch that Fluttermane that is behind the substitute and Ghost type. But I have to correct myself. Parasong is going to finish off that Fluttermane, so that was his own curse.
Yeah, Malika here now I would say comfortably has no out. If the Palafin got the Protect there, then this could have been a game. as Snow would have been forced to switch, and you could have caught the Arcanine switch in, or double up into the Dragonite for a KO. Um, yeah, this is I would say
Yeah,
comfortably
okay,
over
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, there was the forfeit by Maluka, so very dominant performance by Snow. And Maluka has cooked something very interesting, but Snow ain't eating, so he just kicked his ass, I think, with a very offensive team that was able to break through Maluka's defenses.
Yeah, so the set that GSOC actually had on the Fluttermane, very interesting because traditionally with Mega Gengar Parastrap teams, you would run solo Shadow Ball
Yeah,
instead of like Sludge Bomb as your damage option, as you would want Parasong Substitute and Protect. But now in Regulation C, really understandable why it's Moonblast, given that there's these four Ruin Pokemon
yeah,
that are all, not all, but three of the four are weak to Fairy, and the fourth Chi-Yu still being hit neutrally gives a convincing argument as to why it's Moonblast and not Shadow Ball. A lot of good targets for Moonblast to hit, and Shadow Ball generally just lost a little bit of value as there's more safe switches for it now. Still a good offensive typing as you hit a lot of things neutrally with Ghost, but really understandable as to why it's Moonblast there, and I definitely agree with that call, just in theory. In this match, of course, Shadow Ball would have been uh, preferred much more, just as a better option to the Amoonguss there, as it's able to get safely into a position where it can Rage Powder away for its partners and provide really solid damage mitigation and gave a really convincing win to Snow there.
yeah. And Maluka's control options being the probably only the Arcanine and the Tinglu in this game too, since Palafin was there as a switch out on turn 1, so he was practically forced to switch out and take a lot of damage onto that Tinglu that without the Assault Vest was still able, thanks to the Terra type, to take Moonblast Choice Packs and the Terra Blast with the Choice Band. But yeah, that was still too much damage for Maluka to deal with, and that Heavy Slam not picking up the KO on Fluttermane is what really surprised me, since that Fluttermane was able to go for another Moonblast and take another damage off with that Dragonite. But yeah, in the end, I don't think Maluka's team is necessarily bad, but it has to be perfected through the time, since Regulation C just started, and probably it has to find some offensive options in order to like deal with these offensive teams that are too offensive to be dealt with the control stuff.
Yeah, we saw that Malika there really just didn't have a convincing enough response for Fluttermane and Inner Focus Terra Flying Dragonite, as there's only one Fairy Resist with the Arcanine and not a single Flying Resist. And spoiler alert, Fluttermane and Dragonite do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
As shown by that game, and just really doesn't have like Malika just doesn't have a lot of defensive counterplay to that. And as we saw, even when he tried to be a little bit more offensive in game two, Snow understanding that his team just needs to be bulky enough to work through Heavy Slam on Tinglu with the Fluttermane. Being able to take that was actually a really big deal, because then Fluttermane was able to get off more attacks. And considering that the only real priority to hit it would then be the Palafin, you can always get the Amoonguss next to it or switch it in for the Fluttermane, whatever you really need, and makes the game like super predictable from that point. It's like super predictable. Allows you to play. It makes really safe plays that go largely unpunished. Would have much rather seen a better, I would say, just meta like Pokemon, just standard coverage Pokemon in over the Gothorita slot. Obviously buying into the Parasong mode, having two Shadow Tag users, two Fake Out Pokemon, but the Fluttermane just being the ideal Pokemon to bring to this, and Fluttermane being partnered with another sweeper that has zero resist on the other side, made the matchup very difficult for Maluka. Um, just lack of defensive capabilities and being outdamaged, um, and taking too much damage to where the Parasong mode can't even function, um, makes it so that Snow is just able to capitalize on this being a solid matchup and do exactly what to do, and press the advantage and got the win.
Yeah, and we didn't get to see any Glimmorras in this stream, but I expect it to be very high in usage. I think top 10 at least. I'm not sure if it is mainly an Italian option, so I'm biased towards Glimmora being a huge pick. But yeah, we didn't see Glimmora, we didn't see Gyarados, and we didn't see Wo-Chien. So these are 3 picks that I would like to see more in the next weeks of NPA. And yeah, as for Gyarados and Glimmora, we have seen both of them together, so I think there is a connection here, a synergy that I'm not seeing, but I think they're just 2 bulky Pokemons that are paired together and can do well. And I want to ask you a thing. Do you think Corrosion Glimmora will see a raise up in the usage?
Significantly more than it already has, I'm unsure. I think that Glimmora is just a solid Pokemon regardless. With Mortal Spin, Toxic Debris, you have a lot of really good ways to spread the poison status across your opponent's team. And in a format that takes more turns on average than recent ones that we've been playing, definitely adds up and matters. Also, Glimmora having the rock poison typing, similar to Nihilego. Nihiligo's big thing was that low defense stats and its typing, and Glimmora happens to somehow solve both.
Yeah,
actual decent HP and defense. Nothing, of course, too respectable given that it's in the 80s. But that combined with having Terra Grass or Terra Water, whatever defensive typing you want, Grass being the premier one, to bypass Rage Powders and to flip the 4x ground weakness to a resistance. That just being a really solid option. I think Glimmora will just stay around overall. I don't really see it dropping outside of the top 20 anytime soon.
yeah.
And I think that it'll be pretty solid overall, regardless of what Pokemon we get after Regulation C concludes, given that it ends a few months or a month and a half prior to Worlds. I don't think any new Pokemon can really deter Glimmora's value, as Terrestrialization makes Pokemon who have specific tool sets able to use them to their fullest and get the most value out of their moves.
Yeah, so with this take, we're going to say goodbye to all of you. Thanks for watching this stream, and we'll catch up next Monday, same time, for some other Regulation C at this point matches of this NPA season. And once again, thank you very much. See you soon.